Democrats woke up today in full-blown panic mode as NBC and CNN both released brand new polling that predict an absolute doomsday scenario for the Democrats in the 2026 midterms. And while Democrats can't comprehend how this could possibly be happening, for the rest of us, it makes perfect sense. The Democrat Party has become synonymous with feckless, incompetent, lukewarm leadership, embracing and prioritizing illegal aliens over American citizens, a full headfirst nosedive into radical socialism, a full-on rejection of the rule of law and safe communities while defending and uplifting criminals, and accepting, if not celebrating, deadly political violence. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's start with Alyssa Farah on The View, blowing the entire panel's mind by saying if the election was held today, Donald Trump would win by an even bigger margin.
But months and months afterwards,
I'm going to say something that's going to make
frustrated.
This table and this audience very upset, but I want to tell the unvarnished truth. I think if the election were re-held today, Donald Trump would win by the same, if not a bigger margin. I think we forget this country.
How do you say that, though?
This country is so deeply polarized. If you hated him before, you hate him even more now. There are definitely people who are like, ooh, I'm having some buyer's remorse. But there's this poll today that shows that on the top issues people voted on, they still trust Republicans more. We are literally a 48-48 country and then this little percentage in the middle that goes either way.
Now, the panel can't comprehend this because they all suffer from severe Trump derangement syndrome. But the reality is, since Trump took office, the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans could not be more drastic. All they see from the Democrats is a bunch of cringe, uncharismatic, elderly politicians trying to resist and obstruct Donald Trump, but failing at every single turn. They saw the Democrats completely lose their humanity when they refused to stand for a 13-year-old brain cancer survivor who was made an honorary Secret Service agent. They saw Charlie Kirk, someone they might have disagreed with, but someone who never inflicted any actual harm on people, get brutally and publicly assassinated, and subsequently saw their entire Facebook feed, friends, family, co-workers, your doctor, your kid's teacher, openly celebrate the public murder of somebody engaging in free speech. They see Donald Trump governing and doing things, showing the American people that their government can actually work and not just be a sluggish, incompetent, bureaucratic institution that never provides any meaningful change to the lives of American citizens. But we've got a lot of polling to cover in this video, so let's check out this first set of data from NBC.
This is what Democrats are looking at in terms of a challenge to take back the House. The current balance of power with those vacancies, if they are filled the way we expect them to be, it would be 220 seats for the Republicans. There it is, 220 for the Republicans, 215 for the Democrats. And that would mean Democrats really would only need a net gain of 3 seats to get the House. Now, keep in mind, Republicans are trying to redraw maps in a number of states right now to boost that total. So there may be more of a pad here for Republicans than meets the eye when you just look at this balance of power. So that's one challenge for Democrats. But of course, Democrats are hoping that this goes like the midterm did in Trump's first term. And if it did, this would be nothing because Democrats gained 40 seats. It was a blue wave in Trump's midterm. So the thing about that midterm the first time around was you could see it coming from a long way away. October 2017, more than a year out, the generic ballot asking folks which party do you want to see control Congress. Democrats were leading on average in the generic ballot by nearly 8 points. And this was the level they basically maintained through all of 2018, right up to Election Day, right up to the blue wave when they gained 40 seats and flipped the House. So where is the generic ballot right now? Well, Democrats lead it, but not by nearly as much. It's a 3-point average lead for Democrats on the generic ballot.
Now, you may be saying, well, that doesn't look too bad for Democrats, but that's just one poll out of the many I'm going to show you in this video. And we're well aware that polling always overstates Democrat favorability and understates Donald Trump's popularity. But the two facts I want you to focus on are redistricting efforts in Republican states that will probably give Republicans an extra 13 or 14 seats. And number two, the abysmal voter registration numbers that came out a month ago that show Democrats have lost a total of 2.5 million registered voters, and Republicans have gained 2.1 million registered voters for a net swing of 4.6 million voters. But let's get back to the NBC polling polling because this next set of polls is what truly should frighten Democrats.
There was clarity even at this point in 2018 that something was coming. This number suggests you're not at that point right now. And one of the reasons Democrats may not be at the point has to do with this, the image of each party. Again, looking back here at October of 2017, if you looked at all the polling back then, neither party was popular, but one party was a lot less popular than the other. Republicans in Trump's first term, 27% average favorable score at this point. Democrats were up at 39%. There was a pretty clear imbalance there. It worked to the favor of Democrats. What do you have right now when you run these same numbers? Well, again, neither one's popular, but the Republicans are sitting at 41 favorable, the Democrats at 35 favorable. The Democrats are less popular than the Republicans now. And that's one of the things when you look at midterm elections, the opposition party counts on getting a bit of a boost just from being sort of the protest vehicle for anyone who's got issues with the White House. Democrats, though, with numbers like that, you got to worry a little bit. Are people wanting to send a message to them as well, Gabe?
Now, what I want to clarify is the numbers that he showed are extremely gratuitous to the Democrats. He showed the party is sitting at a 35% approval rating, but I have no idea where he got those numbers from, seeing as every set of polling that has come out over the last month shows the Democrat Party at a historically low approval rating, somewhere around 18 to 20%. To get a 35% approval rating, he had to have cherry-picked the one hyper-partisan poll that was commissioned to try to stop Democrats from throwing themselves off of the top of buildings. Remember during the election when that Des Moines, Iowa poll came out that showed Kamala Harris was up by double digits in Iowa? And the entire left-wing media apparatus ran with it as if it was indicative proof that Donald Trump was just the most unpopular person we had ever seen. Only to find out that it was absolutely garbage and Donald Trump won Iowa by a landslide. But the Democrats are so demoralized, they're so unpopular that they have to lean into these extremely inaccurate, nonsensical polls that show that they have somewhat of a fighting chance so the entire party doesn't just give up. But now let's get into CNN's polling because the numbers are equally as terrible for the Democrats.
Harry, it's been almost 1 year since the election. Well, how are voters feeling right now about the president?
You know, sometimes I think it's worth taking that 35,000 vote view. And as far as the American people are concerned, Trump could be better known as Steady Eddie. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we take a look here? Favorable view of Donald Trump. You know, you go back to October of 2024, 44% of the American public viewed him favorably. Now, despite everything, look at this, 43%, which is well within the margin of error of that 44%. And here's the thing to keep in mind. This was good enough to get Trump reelected back in 2024. And Donald Trump is basically at the same point here right now, which I think would surprise a lot of folks, especially a lot of folks on the left who very much disagree with a lot of what Donald Trump has done.
Now let's remember, that number wasn't just good enough to get Donald Trump elected. It was good enough to win Republicans the House, the Senate, every swing state, 90% of American counties. And while Trump's approval has seemingly remained steady, we know the Democrats' approval rating has tanked to an all-time low. So if there's the same amount of support for Republicans and substantially less support for the Democrats, what does that tell you? And when you combine that reality with the voter registration numbers, with the red state redistricting, with the 1.6 million self-deportations, you realize that the worst case scenario for Republicans is they maintain their slim majority in the House and Senate. And the best case scenario is the Republicans pick up enough seats in the House and the Senate that they can continue to enact the America First agenda without all of this annoying Democrat obstruction. But the CNN pollster reveals the reason for Donald Trump's steady approval rating is a reason that is inconceivable to the Democrat establishment. Donald Trump is doing what he promised he would do.
What do you see is underneath that and driving that? Why is he basically the same?
Okay, you know, to quote the esteemed caller Dennis Green, the former head coach in the National Football League, Donald Trump is who the voters thought he was. What are we talking about here? Well, is Trump doing what he promised in the 2024 campaign? Yes, 52%. The majority of Americans say that Donald Trump is doing what he promised compared to 48% who said no. So what essentially is going on here is the voters expected all of this from Donald Trump. The majority did, and that is why his favorable rating, simply put, has not really moved all that much compared to where it was a year ago. Trump is basically doing what the American people thought that he was going to do. Indeed, if you look at the numbers, Trump has basically the steadiest favorable rating this much through a presidency of any president on record, and it's basically where he was a year ago, good enough to get him reelected.
The Democrats' dependence on feeling self-righteous and intellectually superior to Republicans has forced them to take the unpopular side of every single common sense issue. Donald Trump says, I don't believe illegal aliens should receive taxpayer-funded free health care. That should be reserved for Americans. And Democrats scoff at the idea. They say, how dare you? They describe illegal MS-13 gang members as Maryland fathers. Donald Trump says, I want to reduce crime. There are too many people dying. And the Democrats say, how dare you try to stop that? Carjackings and murders are a quintessential part of democracy and freedom. Donald Trump says, I don't think men should participate in women's sports. And Democrats say, you're a bigot. The feelings of mentally ill, confused males should supersede the rights and comfortability of actual women. And people see that the Democrats' unhealthy opposition to Donald Trump isn't just reserved for partisan issues like tax policy. They see it applies to literally everything, including the safety and well-being of American citizens. And they don't find that commendable or honorable. They find it extremely unproductive. And they see Democrat politicians as extremely unserious and unprofessional. They see the obnoxious whack job rising stars like Jasmine Crockett and AOC. And then when they look to their seasoned veteran leadership like Chuck Schumer, they get cringe social media videos like this.
So now we're in a government shutdown. And you may be asking yourself, how the hell did we get here? Donald Trump and the Republican Party are hell-bent on taking health care away from 60 million people, closing community clinics, rural hospitals, nursing homes, all so they can keep giving tax breaks to their billionaire friends. It's a disgrace. So Democrats have 3 words for this. No fucking way. It's literally life or death. We will not let Republicans blow up our healthcare system.
Ooh, look at me. I'm Chuck Schumer. I said a cuss word. That means that I'm going to fight fiercely and passionately on your behalf. And then they see Gavin Newsom implement the strategy of trying to be an identical imitation to Donald Trump, and then are confused because just a year ago, their politicians were screaming about how unprofessional, unpresidential, undignified Donald Trump's behavior was. And now the Democrats are trying to do everything they can to be as Trump as possible. Just a year ago, Democrats claimed their moral superiority stemmed from being better than Donald Trump, not stooping down to his level. But now that's exactly what Democrats are trying to do, but they're falling flat on their face because it comes across as extremely inauthentic. But I would be remiss if I did not remind you guys, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you participate in the midterm elections. We need every vote we can. We cannot rely on the assumption that we have this in the bag because the Democrats just suck, which they do, but we need to ensure the survival of our republic by making sure that these lunatics never come close to having power ever again. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.